Welcome to the Motormouth YouTube channel. I'm Zach.
I'm Andrea.
And we do full-length car reviews each and every week. Please watch and subscribe. And if you do, you know we stop halfway through for a segment called Questions, Coffee, and Cars. And if you want to get a question in, because we spun it off and we're at 121, how would you do that?
Follow along on Instagram at Motormouth_Andrea. Every Sunday morning, I put a post out asking for questions. Once we gather the questions, the post is deleted and we start the show.
Time now for Questions, Coffee, and Cars.
Your questions from Instagram.
Is the Hyundai Venue getting refreshed or redesigned anytime soon? Well, when you look at the Hyundai website, 2025 is just a carryover. So definitely not for 2025. It's actually a really good price. It starts at $23,500 in Canada and under $20,000 in the US.
I think it's a hot turd myself.
Oh my God.
You know what it was? It was the Hyundai Accent, a Hyundai Accent hatchback.
Yeah.
They turned into a front-wheel drive only, supposed to be utility. Mm-hmm. No. I really like the last generation Nissan Kicks as an alternative to that.
I love the Kicks.
Or a Kia Soul.
Yeah,
But
Soul is
yeah,
good.
Venue, no. Underpowered, no.
Anyway, we don't know about a redesign. 2025 is a carryover, but I have to say, I did see a family of 4 in a Venue, and they had tall kids. Like, you could just see them in the back, and they were, like, leaned against the window. One had his nose to the window. It was quite funny, but I thought to myself, you know what?
Oh.
That is an inexpensive option, and that family of 4 is taking that car from A to B. So why not?
All right. So instead of that, I would seriously consider a Mitsubishi RVR. It's sold with 2 engines. You want the larger engine, and it is proven to be super reliable. And
That's the Outlander Sport in the U.S.
Outlander Sport in the U.S.
Yeah.
We found that out after we said it's not sold there anymore as an RVR. But if you're going to, and it's available with all-wheel drive. So if you're in that size, that's the one I would pick.
Hi, Andrea and Zach. I love your show. I don't miss an episode. Thank you. I'm thinking of buying a small SUV. I have 3 young daughters, 10-year-old and twins, 8-year-olds.
Busy.
Where I live in Columbia, we get the Nissan Rogue with e-Power hybrid, the Mercedes-Benz GLB 250 hybrid, and the Volvo XC40 hybrid. Now, those two, the XC40 and the GLB, are plug-in hybrids. Yeah. But the Nissan and the Mercedes come with the 7-seat configuration, which we appreciate. Considering ride quality, space, resale value, and safety, which would you choose? Boy, I'd really love to drive that Nissan Rogue with the e-Power because I've heard really good things about it, but we just don't get it here in North America.
And that is maybe sold with the 3rd row seats still because we don't get that one anymore.
Gets it,
yeah, because they used to sell that.
7-seat configuration.
They used to sell it and they stopped selling it, and probably because there wasn't that much of a take rate on it. The other one you might want to consider is the Mitsubishi Outlander plug-in hybrid. But I love the GLB configuration. I just think the GLB design with its kind of boxy, quirky look and room is actually really well done. Is it going to be the most reliable? I don't think so, but I like it.
The Volvo XC40 is also really refined. Now, we actually don't have the plug-in hybrid here. We have the pure EV for the XC40. We get the XC60 plug-in hybrid in North America. So definitely some differences here. The XC40 isn't as large as the Rogue or the GLB.
Is that well, I've never heard of an XC40 with 3 rows of seats.
Not the XC40.
No.
You just said the Nissan and Mercedes come with 7 seats.
Well,
so I think for space,
the GLB is going to win.
the GLB is great, but I don't know. You have to drive that Nissan Rogue e-hybrid. If you really love it, like I said, I wish we could drive it. Maybe we've got to go and
We've got to go to
drive
Japan,
it.
Andrea. Here's the interest. I still put Mitsubishi Outlander plug-in hybrid on the table. I
Yeah.
still think that is, you know, the seats in the 3rd row.
Do you think it's sold in Colombia, though?
Don't know. These are
know.
questions I don't know, Andrea.
We don't know.
We
I
don't-
just used it because, you know, you watch us and you love the channel, and I feel like we can't really fully answer this question
Follow-up.
for you.
We need a follow-up. Is the Outlander plug-in hybrid sold in Colombia? Let us know.
Send me a direct message. Let me know if it is, because that might be a good option for you. Although then you've always got somebody in the third row, or you've got the girls right across that rear seat, 3 across. But I guess it's the same with anything, isn't it, when you've got 3 kids?
Compromise, Andrea,
Yeah.
when you have 3 kids.
For sure. My dad and I are big fans of your channel and always watch the new videos. Thank you. Do you guys think the new Toyota RAV4 will have a design more similar to the new Crown Signia or the new Toyota 4Runner?
Oh, I think it's going to be more 4Runner.
I think it's going to be Grand Highlander
think,
interior on the base models.
Yeah, I think it's
The
going to...
base model Grand Highlander, not the Hybrid Max look, which is more similar to the Crown with the shifter. I just wanted to clarify that. Grand Highlander, base hybrid, and base gas model.
I think that you just have to look at the current RAV4 to see that they're trying to make it look a little more rugged ute look, because they can do different trims on it. They can have just the base one with, like, you know, small wheels and a very simple trim. They can do their woodland, and they used to have a TRD version even, make it a little more rugged and outdoorsy. Then they do the XSE that's kind of sportier looking. So it morphs depending on the color and trim they do on it. So I would suspect it's going to be trying to mimic a real trucky SUV. That's my guess.
Yeah,
we
think
have
so
never
too.
seen anything, nothing.
But there's no way. The Crown Signia is just a special vehicle
It's a
with a
Crown.
special nameplate, which is why it has more of a Lexus vibe.
It's
But
a
we did speak to the chief engineer for Crown Signia, and I said, "Wow, did you get your inspiration from Lexus?" "Oh no, we don't compare it." And I'm
Sure.
like, "Really?" Because it looks a lot like a Lexus.
So you have Lexus, or you have Century in Japan. Then you have Lexus, which, by the way, Lexus wasn't sold in Japan until recently. And Crown is a big deal in the Asian market. And so, you know, Toyota has just yet another layer that they can put in there. And I don't think it's going to look like a Crown at all.
I don't think so either. What would be a good replacement for my 2018 BMW X3, currently sitting at 106,000 kilometers? I'm planning on driving it to 150,000, so I can wait a year as well. I was looking at the new Land Cruiser, but the lack of heated rear seats is a turnoff. The new Refresh MDX looks amazing, but the fuel economy isn't the best. I'd like to do Japanese. Haven't had any issues with the Beamer, but having to change the brakes every 75,000 kilometers is annoying. Lexus lets you go 130,000 before having to do so. There you go.
It all depends on where you live. If you live in a really mountainous region and you're using the brakes all the time.
Sounds like he does a fair amount of
Yeah,
kilometers
so you're doing a
year.
lot of driving.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just keep the
You know
car.
what? I have to say the MDX, the Refresh looks great. That's a big vehicle, but you're right. Anybody who
not
owns
good on
one
gas.
reports that they don't have great fuel economy. So you want to go Japanese.
I've got one,
What
Andrea.
about the Crown Signia?
Crown Signia. Are you ready?
Yeah,
What
go
about the
for it.
Mazda? I got to make sure I do it right. It's CX-50
Yeah.
hybrid that's coming to market in the next couple of months. So the CX-50 is similar kind of shape to the Signia, kind of wagony looking,
Yeah.
and it has a Toyota hybrid system in it. That might be something. Well, we're going to drive it in the next month or so, so we'll tell you.
We'll let you know.
We'll let you know.
My only concern about the CX-50 is the seats are really uncomfortable, super firm, and I don't find that they offer enough thigh support.
Well, what's uncomfortable
However,
for
the
you might not be
rumor-
for someone else.
Most
You've gotta-
people report that the seats are uncomfortable in the
Try it out.
CX-50. However, I've heard rumors, and that's why I can't wait to get into it, is that I heard that Mazda has improved on the seat comfort. So we'll wait and see on that. There was another one I was thinking about too. How about the Subaru Forester hybrid coming in 2026? That might be another option if you're looking for good
Well,
fuel economy.
It's not coming in 2026. It's coming as a 2026.
That's
so
what I
it's
meant.
going to be in the spring.
End of the year, we've been told 2025.
I think it's supposed to be spring of 2025. Anyway, we'll find out when
We'll see.
when it comes. But you know, the world is your oyster, and I wouldn't run away from the Germans just because they need brakes. It's, none of these are going to drive like a BMW. They're not.
Or how about the Lexus NX hybrid?
Ugh, we're always
Lexus
saying that one.
RX hybrid. Well, sounds like he wants Japanese, and he's concerned about fuel economy. So maybe a hybrid's the way to go. And there are more and more options coming out, and they're Japanese. So consider those ones.
I'm just sick of talking about Toyotas and Lexus all the time.
But I mention Subaru Forester.
Yeah, I know.
You did the CX-50 hybrid.
Which are both using Toyota hybrid systems. So it's like you can't get away from them.
I know.
Not that I'm dissing Toyota. I think they make great products, but it's like...
Okay, you could go if you're looking for good fuel economy, and I know it's still BMW and the brakes and that issue, but you could do the X3 plug-in hybrid. It's a good one. Does the Miata scratch a tiny bit of the 911 itch?
No, it's never going to replace a 911, but it scratches the fun, convertible, bomb around town itch. But it's never going to... The thing is, if you've never driven a 911, as soon as you drive one, you're like, oh, I kind of get it now.
I mean, there's a huge difference, but this is an affordable option, and it is super fun to drive. And I like the price point of it, more so than a 911 or even a brand new Boxster. So I think I'm quite happy with the budget-friendly option.
You could have a Boxster and a Miata for the same price as a base 911. They're expensive. They're very expensive. But we've owned two 911s, and every time we drive a 911, you drive it and you're like, oh my God, they're just special. It's a special car.
Special. As always, I love the show. Have you heard anything about Hyundai Group and GM collaborating in the future? Do you think it would be a good thing? Yeah, I mean, they haven't really said that they are going to collaborate.
They did. No, they did. They had an announcement.
They had an announcement, but they didn't say they were going to do anything.
No,
they signed something saying, we're thinking about doing something. So I guess we could say it's a collaboration, but they're just talking. They haven't really decided on collaborating on anything.
Where there's smoke, there's fire. And I think I read somewhere that they're going to be working together on hydrogen, as that's an option for the future for some people. And it's just cost sharing. These platforms to develop are so expensive. And the other thing is that you might not be aware is that a lot of the componentry that they use in their EVs is Korean already. That's from LG. So, for example, the Chevy Bolt had, I think, the drive unit, the batteries and everything were all from Korea. There was LG. So they're kind of Korean.
I'd like to know what you think about this, because when Honda and GM worked together, people had
lost their
absolute
minds.
conniption about it, that how Honda could possibly do this and work with GM. We reviewed the Acura ZDX and the Honda Prologue, and I don't know how many negative comments, not towards us in our review, but just about the agreement that Honda and GM have together, and they produce this vehicle, and people were really upset that Honda went that way. So I'm just curious to hear what you think about it, with if they actually do something, Hyundai and GM. I agree. I think they've got to share. They've got to share. They've got to collaborate to bring these prices down.
Put your seatbelt on. There's going to be way more mergers or partnerships coming. You look at the whole heap of trouble Stellantis is in. General Motors is trying to share costs, even though they're profitable.
Yeah.
Ford is going to have to, like, there's so many brands that are going to be, even Volkswagen is all these massive financial problems in Europe. Yeah. You know, they might have to partner up with other people, which they already have. They've partnered up with Ford on commercial vehicles and so on. So this is really common in the auto industry.
And you see Subaru, Toyota, and Mazda all joining forces, which I feel everyone is super positive about that, because Toyota's got a great hybrid system, and then you bring it in with Subaru and Mazda, which people really like those brands as well. So that's all been positive news that those three are working together, but it wasn't the same with Honda and GM, and they have since parted ways.
I think this
And
Hyundai,
that's it.
I think this Hyundai thing is a great idea. I think good for them. If they can share some costs, that's great.
I think, like I said, they have to. Which Kia Niro do you think is the best bang for your buck, and how come it's never part of your other recommendations when you gave Kia some pretty good reviews?
Because it's not sold with all-wheel drive, which is one of the reasons why we don't recommend it all the time, because for most people that are looking for utilities, they want all-wheel drive. And that's why they've remedied that. When the EV3 shows up in the marketplace, it's available with all-wheel drive. So I'm a big fan of Niro. Which one would you choose? Would you choose the hybrid, the plug-in hybrid, or the EV?
I would choose the hybrid, just because there's so many trims. It starts at around $33,000 in Canada, and then it goes top trim is just under $40,000. So it's a good price, but it is front wheel drive, and that's something you've got to consider.
It's anemic. It doesn't have any power, but man, the fuel economy on it is killer.
Yeah, we were getting great fuel economy on that drive event.
Yeah, so if you're really bottom line focused, you want to get an inexpensive one. It's the least expensive. It sips fuel. You're not getting anywhere in a hurry in it, but it's really nicely packaged on the inside. It's got great use of space. I'm a big fan of the hybrid. You're just not winning any races. You're not going to challenge a guy at the light, Andrea, in your Niro hybrid.
And
I mean, if a Prius pulls up next to you and says, hey, let's go, you're not going to win that one.
And it's not as quiet under hard acceleration either. The cabin could be better insulated for sure.
The one thing is when that hybrid is working hard and it's making all that noise, and you know what the sound that you hear, Andrea? Saving money on gas.
Yeah.
That's the sound you've got to talk yourself into. Every time it goes, you go, oh man, I love this car. It's so good on gas.
And the other thing about it is the rear seat legroom is really good in the Niro.
The packaging is amazing.
A family could easily put some car seats in there. It's quite comfortable.
And so, Andrea, I'm a guy who wants to get a question in for the next one. I mean, I could just ask you, but I mean, if I wanted to go through the process, how would I do that?
Wow, you have to follow along on Instagram at motormouth_Andrea. And every Sunday morning, I put a post out on Instagram asking for questions. Once we gather the questions, the post is deleted and we start the show.
See you next time.
Thanks for watching.
See you then.